outside? Should I run and hide? How do I take my company worldwide? Do you love the law? Did you watch Hee-Haw? What's the weirdest thing that you ever saw? What's it like in court? Favorite sport? Can you help with my book report? Is my hair too long? Am I right or wrong? And do you mind if I sing along to anything? Ask Alan anything in the world.
Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Ask Alan, the podcast. I'm Alan Crone, the CEO of the Crone Law Firm, and we've got a great show today. My guest is Andy Jacob, who's the CEO of DotCom magazine, which is a big deal. We're going to hear all about DotCom magazine and his work promoting different businesses and the idea of entrepreneurship. Andy, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Alan, it's great to be here. It's an honor to be in your presence. I know the great work you do as an attorney in your area. You're well known, and your podcast is fantastic. So it's really great to be on the show today.
Folks, as you can tell, Andy, it's hard to get Andy to say anything positive about you. But I appreciate those words, Andy. I really do. It's nice of you to say, and same with you. I really have enjoyed our association through the years, and this ought to be, hopefully this will be a great interview for everybody. As I said to you off the air, I always like to talk about origin stories. Every superhero has an origin story, and that's no different for you than anybody else. How did you get to be the CEO of DotCom magazine?
Well, that's a long story, but let me tell you, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and early on as a young man, I discovered something that I happened to be pretty good at, which was relating to people. And I started my first business when I was 14 years old. And early on, I loved sports. I loved the neighborhood that I grew up in. That was the time, Alan, when you could go out on your bicycle and ride around in the forest and build ramps and leave when you were in first grade and come home for dinner and everything was fine. Well, it's a different world now. But in those days, I really learned sort of how to be independent and how to get along with people. And in my entrepreneurial journey, starting my first business when I was a young man, which was a paper route. And then I had people that were in my paper route that worked for me, that did the paper route. And then I paid them and took an override. And then I had a waxing business, car waxing business, and so on and so forth. I really found, Alan, that the way in which you succeed as an entrepreneur is really to make sure that your customers become very happy. And that's the most important thing, no matter whether you're delivering newspapers or you're waxing somebody's car like I did when I was 15 and 16 years old, or had a crazy company when I was in college, which was a landscape company. I knew nothing about landscaping, but I knew that if I got done with the job and made the customer happy, that it was going to be a great thing for me. And it really was a great thing for my entrepreneurial journey. And of course, during college, I played college football for 1 year. I wanted to be a professional coach. And when I started thinking about it, one thing led to another. And I took my passion for entrepreneurship, my passion for coaching, and I've been able to put them both together and be very lucky and humbled to have had a very successful career as an entrepreneur. As an adult after college, I've been able to build now my fifth, what I consider, great company. And it's just been a very good blessing for me and my family. It's been a wonderful experience for me. And I've never forgot the things that I've learned along the way, starting with my first paper route, which was, if you can make the customer happy, you've got something. So that's my story, as you call it, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, what is Andy Jacob's mission statement, your personal mission statement?
Well, my personal mission statement is that I believe that I'm a powerful, modest, compassionate, and kind person that can empower people's lives, powered by God. And that's really my personal mission statement. That's the way that I look at the world. I try and look at the world, as you know, Alan, through a positivity bias. I like to look at things in terms of the positive nature of things versus the negative. And certainly in entrepreneurship, Alan, you and I both know that works out very well in most cases. So in the old days, we used to call it whether you're a half full or a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of a guy or a gal. I like looking at the glass being half full if I can in most cases. And in entrepreneurship, again, as you know, whether you're running a very, very successful internationally successful law firm like you or running a media company like me, you have to give back to the customers in a meaningful way. And you have to put yourself in the position that as an entrepreneur, things aren't always going to go your way. But when they don't, look at it in a positive light and look at it like you're getting a Harvard MBA. Every little incident that doesn't go your way, you spin it, you pivot it, you make it work your way. And that's how you continue to move forward in a positive manner to build a great company.
You know, the great entrepreneurs, when you ask them, what's your mission statement? What are you trying to do? They never mention money. And I think that's key to having a good business, is if all you're in it for is to make money. Now, there's nothing wrong with making money. That's kind of the goal. I realize that. But if your focus is on making money, I don't think you're going to be successful. If your focus is on the customer, then you're going to be successful and you're going to make money.
You know, Ellen, I agree with that 100%. And you speak to so many business owners as I do. And when I speak to a business owner or an entrepreneur at DotCom magazine, and we'll get into DotCom magazine momentarily, what we're doing in terms of our platform, obviously. But one thing that is very apparent, just like you said, if I talk to an entrepreneur and all they talk about is their technology, all they talk about is their platform, all they talk about is the bells and whistles of what they're offering, whether it's a SaaS model or whether they're doing cybersecurity or something in the internet or technology space. If you talk to them and they don't talk about the customer, you start saying to yourself, they're going to have a problem because they're so enamored with the business, they forget about the single most important asset of that business, which is their customer or their client. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, yes, money's important. Sometimes people think, well, money is a way to sort of, keep count of what's going on, sort of keep your grade point average, if you will, on your money situation. And I can buy into that. But certainly the most important thing is you have to think about what your technology or offering or idea or business can do to positively impact, and there's that word again, positively impact your client or your customer in a way that perhaps they can't get anywhere else, and in a way that when you get done offering whatever you're offering, they're going to tell 10 or 15 people about your offering. And that's how you get the ball going in a very powerful way downhill, and using that force of those referrals and positive experiences to build a great company.
Well, you said we talk about .com magazine in a minute, so that time is here. What tell us about .com magazine and what are you trying to do with it?
Well, Alan, thank you so much for the question. You know, throughout the years, I've noticed a very, very big problem that entrepreneurs with startups or even mature companies, the founders and CEOs have a difficult time getting their story told. So about 3 years ago, I bought the assets to .com magazine, and I decided to build a platform that allows entrepreneurs, great entrepreneurs, CEOs, and founders to tell their stories. So what we do is we do interviews very similar to this, Alan, and we interview what we consider the best of the best, the brightest of the brightest in their particular fields. We do a video interview with them. We promote the interview for them in a meaningful way. We produce the interview to a CNN, Fox News quality style interview. And we want to get the word out because, you know, when founders and entrepreneurs build a business, they really are the people that set the culture, whether they want to or not, whether they think they're not able to set the culture or not, whether they think they're an introvert or not. It's the CEO and founder of companies that set the corporate culture. So we give them a chance to shine. We put them on our interview show. We work with them to make sure that they shine in the best possible light. We produce the video. We get it out to all of our media outlets and media partners throughout the world, and we get them the exposure that they deserve.
Well, full disclosure to everybody, I've been on your .com magazine cast, and it's been very good for us. And you certainly have gotten the word out about the Crone Law Firm, and we certainly appreciate that.
Well, that's great, Alan. It was a wonderful interview, and again, it's really exciting because there's so many talented people in this world that you don't get to meet. Now, through technology, however, and through podcasts and video casts like you have, Alan, on the Ask Alan podcast, we're able to sort of speak face to face. And, people buy based on personality. People buy because they see someone, they hear someone, whether it's a man or a woman, and they make a decision sort of, can I trust this person? Is this a person that resonates with me? Is this a person that kind of is in alignment with what I'm thinking? Is this a person that's going to get it done for me? So technology has really improved entrepreneurism in a great way because we can get on shows like this. We can talk, we can be interviewed and interview others, and then the world can see them sort of at their face. And if the world decides that that person is someone they want to do business with, then that's wonderful. If they decide that, maybe they should shop around a little bit, that's wonderful too, because that would just make the entrepreneur realize that they need to get better at coming on shows like this, explaining their story. And again, there's that positivity bias that we talk about, looking at the glass half full, that something like this is always an opportunity for the entrepreneur to learn, to become better, get their word out. And if they don't perform at the highest level on a video series like this, then they can watch it over and over. And for the next one, they'll just get better. As simple as that.
What do you think the future holds for platforms like this within the context of a know, like, trust branding campaign? Before COVID, you didn't see so much of this. During COVID, obviously, it exploded. What kind of mixture of in-person and virtual do you think we're going to be looking at over the next 5-10 years?
Alan, I think it's so important. Obviously, we all want to get back to in person, and it's always great to get a handshake on somebody and get some what we call eyeballs on them in the entrepreneurial world, or going back a long time ago, what we used to call getting some eyeballs on people. Honey, I'm going out to a meeting. I'm going to get some eyeballs on a potential customer. But in this particular case, you're getting eyeballs on me. I'm getting eyeballs on you. We can relate. We can see each other's body language. We can see each other's facial expressions. We can learn about whether we trust someone through these video interviews in a very powerful way. So I see the video discussions becoming even more prevalent than what they've become during COVID. I do believe that it gives a great insight into an entrepreneur, into a business owner, even into a salesperson. If I speak to someone on the phone, it's an entirely different experience than speaking to them, obviously in person, but certainly on an interview like this on video. So through video, you get almost all the touchy-feely getting an eyeballs on a person, but you're just not there in person. And just think about it. The world's flat. So before this technology, how would you get the eyeballs on someone that, perhaps lived in the United Kingdom or Australia or Asia or India? It was very hard to do. You had to fly across country to do it. And trust me, there's a lot of guys and gals that love those trips and love those expensive, overseas trips. But a lot of companies have kind of discovered that they can do it through this type of a medium, maybe to start the relationship, and then after it's evolved, maybe then they could do what I call getting the eyeballs on the people in person.
Yeah, I think it's a both and as well. We have seen, we produce a number of videos. Of course, we do the Ask Allens, and we're finding a lot of people who come to see us have filtered us or screened us, if you will, by looking at our videos to determine, well, is this somebody I feel some sort of connection to? And I presume there are people that do that and say, no, I want to find a different lawyer for whatever reason. And as you said, that maybe makes the sales process a little more efficient. But people want to see both. They want to see you in person, but they also want to kind of get an idea of what am I in for when I go see this person.
I agree. That's exactly right. And, we know through research that video gets shared 1,200% more than text. I call text old-fashioned text now because video really is dominating. Even in Google search, obviously, they're involved with YouTube in a very big way, but Google really loves video now. And video, just think about it. You can tell a wonderful story in a very short period of time. And again, people can get on, they can sort of say to themselves, yeah, this is someone who I'd like to do business, or in your case, of course, hear all the wonderful things that you've done, Alan, with the law firm and your fine group of attorneys over at the Crone Law Firm, and say, that resonates with me. I like that. And I happen to know that you love solving complex problems. That's really what you love to do. And how do I know that? Well, that's because I've listened to your show. I've listened to your video cast. I've actually had a chance to interview you. So when you think about a client that has a very complex litigation matter, they watch some of this video and they say to themselves, wow, Alan not only thrives on complex problems, solving them, but he loves to solve them. And that's how he's made his living and become such a mainstay in the law community by solving complex problems. So that resonates with me. Let me give him a call. Go get some eyeballs on him, get down to the office, say hello, and let's see what we can do together.
What do you think the entrepreneur of the 21st century, what are the challenges that she is going to face that the entrepreneurs in the previous century didn't have to face?
Well, they're going to have to face the fact that they're not going to grow up in the face-to-face getting eyeballs on people situation that you and I have grown up with. So we grew up as entrepreneurs, meeting with people, shaking hands, traveling around, always having to meet. The phone call was, got you to the meeting, and traveled around, met people, got together with them in person. The entrepreneur of the next century is going to be raised on this. They're going to be raised through technology. So their transition to meeting with people in person is going to be the same transition that you and I had to going to the technology. So quite possibly, because of the fact of the way the world is now, Alan, that they're so connected as young people to their technology platforms and to their phones and iPads and everything else, they maybe lose a bit of the art of that interpersonal relationship. They miss learning what it was like you and I, when we were kids, to meet with people and get along with people and ride your bikes around the neighborhood. They're not doing that now. They're on their phones, they're on their computers. So when the time comes for the future entrepreneur to have to meet with people, they're probably going to have to learn how to get up to speed pretty quick on that, because they were not raised on that personal interaction like we were.
It's going to be interesting. I tell our folks all the time that our main competition is Amazon and these modern companies, because they're the ones setting the expectation for what service delivery looks like. And I think one big problem, or one big challenge that folks have, is that means different things for different people based on your experience. So you've got to know, is this person a text person or an email person or a phone call person? Because we're all in such different places when it comes to the technology.
That's right. I agree with that 100%. And obviously, it's like we spoke about, not only do you have to really care about your customer, one of the things that goes along with caring for your customer is knowing in the way in which they want to communicate with you. So if you only offer one way to communicate with an entrepreneur, that potentially could be an error. You want to provide an opportunity and options within your framework to be able to allow your customer to reach out to you and connect with you in a way that makes them feel comfortable. So, for example, you're exactly right. If I have an offering and I have certain customers that really want to close the deal and have the sales cycle through, let's say, video chat, or through maybe meeting in person, if it's a high ticket item offering and you only offer online chat and email, you're really missing the boat, because you have to be able to accommodate your customers in a way that's meaningful to them. You mentioned Amazon, and that's a great example. They've discovered that the absolute best way to accommodate their customer is to allow that customer to click one button and have something arrive at their home that day or the next day. But if you notice, it's very challenging to get on the phone with them. It's very challenging to get on chat with them. Even if you have a return, they don't want to hear about it. They want you to click 2 or 3 buttons. They want you to print everything yourself. They want you to take it to the UPS office to return it. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to chat to you. And the reason why is because obviously they want to be streamlined. They want to have a very efficient system, but they've discovered that in this world, for their platform, for their offering, people don't want to talk to them either. They just want to click a couple buttons and they're done. And it's the same thing for all businesses. You have to decide what the best way to communicate with your client is.
That's right. That's right. And sometimes that's multiple platforms. People sometimes will ask me, well, I do a lot of marketing, and well, what is your favorite platform? And I say, I don't have a favorite platform. You got to be everywhere. You've got to be on Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'm looking at TikTok and some of these other things, because you've got big parts of your market that you've got to know where they are, as you say. You got to know, are they spending their time? Like, I know where my folks spend my time. My folks spend their time on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube. And so we focus on those things, but you've also got to be in Instagram and some of these other collateral places just to make sure that people are seeing you everywhere. And, in the 80s, all you had to be was on one of the 3 television channels, maybe 4 if you had a UHF station in your town, and that's all you had to do. So it's much more complicated now to get your message out.
That's right, Alan. Of course, in Detroit, where I grew up, we had Channel 9, which was the big Canadian station that we used to watch hockey on in Detroit. So I agree with you 100%, Alan, and it's very interesting. I'm a big believer in sort of the 80-20 paradigm, where 80% of your business perhaps comes from 20% of the customers, and you can break things down a lot in the 80-20, 70-30 paradigm, if you will. But certainly you want to be everywhere. But the thing that's beautiful about today's world for an entrepreneur is data. And you can use data to your benefit to determine where your clients are, where they're coming from, the highest and most likely person to buy from you or to accept your service or product or offering. And you can use that data to drive an informed decision for your marketing dollars. So yes, we want to be everywhere. And certainly there might be some areas that work better than others. And with the proper data and the proper approach, you can certainly hone in on those areas to increase your ROI, to decrease your marketing dollar, and put you in the position to get the highest and most likely customer to transact with your business. 100%.
Now, I know that a .com magazine is just a part of what you do. You've got a business called the Jacob Group. Is that right?
Yes, Alan. It's very interesting. I was very lucky many years ago. I happened to sell a media company. I did well. I wasn't really doing much. And my wife told me if I didn't go back to work, she was going to end up killing me. So she's the boss. So I kind of hung out a sign on the front of my porch, which was really the internet. And I just called it the Jacob Group because I didn't have a very creative bone in my body at that moment. And all of a sudden, people started contacting me saying, Andy, how did you do this? How did you do that? What all happened? Tell us about the journey. Tell us some secrets. So I decided that maybe I'll just become a business consultant. And throughout that journey, Alan, the thing that came so apparent to me was that the entrepreneurs and the CEOs that I was speaking with, they didn't understand really how to get the word out. So that's when I had my aha moment to buy the assets to .com magazine and put a platform together for entrepreneurs and CEOs and, of course, founders to tell their story. And it's worked out so beautifully. We've had so many incredible people on the show. And for me as a host, just like you're a host of your podcast, it's so fascinating to pull the umbrella back, to pull the lens back to 30,000 feet, as I like to say on the show, and learn about entrepreneurs and learn about their success stories. And like you mentioned earlier in your podcast on this show, is something comes very, very clear to me is none of them ever talk about money at the beginning. They all talk about the journey, and they all talk about the fact that they have a passion, or they talk about that they have a love for process, or they talk about the fact that they have a love for their customer, or they talk about the fact that they have a love for solving complex problems like you do. And they've been able to use one of their loves to build a successful business by providing people and clients something that they desperately need in a way that's meaningful to them, that they can charge the appropriate price for. And like I said, make them very, very happy to keep that ball rolling downhill to build a great business. So that's sort of the evolution of the Jacob Group into .com magazine. And as someone that really believes that I understand what's called the sales cycle, because I've been doing it for so long and I've been selling as an entrepreneur since I've been 14 years old, I know and knew that the founder and the CEO need to lead. And they can't lead from behind. They need to lead from the front, both with their corporate culture and their message. And what better way for a potential customer than to see the founder and CEO talking about what they believe about their company is the important thing that gives that potential buyer or client a sense of confidence that I know this CEO, I believe what the CEO or founder is going to do. I believe their mission. That's a person that I can get behind, and that's a person that I don't mind taking their service from in relation to giving them my hard-earned money. And I believe that that's going to be a great situation for me and my company.
Who were some of your influences in your business journey, your mentors that helped you get where you are now?
Well, I love that question, and I love mentorship so much. And obviously, I try and give back as much as I can to the entrepreneurial community. But like I mentioned, growing up, I loved athletics, and I looked at so many of the great coaches. You know, Vince Lombardi was someone that I loved, and you know, I loved all of the things that he would say and the way that he would take a team and form them into something that was great. So a lot of my influences came from sports. My high school football coach, Mr. Daryl Harper, was a big influence in my life because, you know, I was with him for 4 years through high school, and he taught me many lessons besides just being a football player about life and how to approach things and get prepared and be ready and give your best and never give up and never quit. And when the road gets rocky, you keep on pushing through and take a breather. So a lot of my entrepreneurial journey, I learned through athletics. Many years ago in 1990, before Anthony Robbins became the Anthony Robbins that we all know today, I had a chance to visit and go to one of his seminars. And at the time, it was a big chunk of money for me to throw out. And I went with a good friend of mine from Detroit. And that was sort of the type of thing that I was really attracted to. I was attracted to, and still am attracted to, people that look at life with that positive bias, people that look at life with the glass half full versus half empty. And I've got spiritual advisors, I've got business advisors all around me. I reach out to them all the time. And it's a very, very smart thing, in my opinion, to find yourself those types of people that you can reach out to, have a great, frank conversation with, that can give you advice. And of course, at the end of the day, it's always up to you to make your own decision. But it's very good to not only get advice from people that you know, oftentimes would agree with your position, but make sure you bring some people in that don't agree with your position oftentimes, so that you can get a good mixture and hear from a good cross section of people, so you can make the best intelligent, informed decision that you can for not only your life, but your business.
One of the things I really try to do is to get off my island. You know, as an entrepreneur, you can get caught on an island where you know, all you hear is your own noise, and you don't get a perspective of of anything, how big your island is, how small it is, where the nearest island is. And so you've really got to talk to folks in order to be able to triangulate where you are and where you're headed.
That's right, Alan. I call that the medicine cabinet principle. And the principle is very simple. I have a giant headache. I go to my medicine cabinet, I open the door, I don't see the aspirin. I say to my wife, honey, where's the aspirin? And she says, oh, it's in the medicine cabinet. So I open the door a second time, I still don't see the aspirin, I close the door. Honey, where's the aspirin? I have a splitting headache. She says, honey, it's in the medicine cabinet. I open it again, no aspirin. Honey, I've got a splitting headache. Please, where's the aspirin? She walks right over to my bathroom. She opens up the same medicine cabinet that I've been opening 3 times and did not see the aspirin. And right in the middle of the medicine cabinet is the aspirin. Well, why didn't I see it? It's because, like you said, I was on my own island. I was too close to it. I was too up close and personal to it. I didn't see it because it was right in front of me. And the same thing happens in business. That's why you need these people to not only be your mentors and be your people that are your advisors, but tell you some things that you're probably not seeing because you're so close to the situation.
Everybody needs somebody that will tell them what you don't want to hear. There are a lot of people who tell you what you want to hear. There are very few people that are good enough friends to tell you what you don't want to hear. And if you find someone like that, you need to stick with them.
That's right. And I'm very fortunate because my wife, Kristen, often tells me the things that I don't want to hear, but I trust her implicitly. We've been together for over 20 years. I'm very, very blessed in that relationship. And again, that's another thing that's kind of important for entrepreneurship. If you do happen to find a partner, a life partner that you resonate with and you can lean on them as well, that's also another great avenue to get some perspective as an entrepreneur. If you choose to do so and you believe in that partner, in what they have to say, that's great. And, oftentimes entrepreneurs think about that. And I actually spoke to one who said, I don't listen to my wife. I said to him, well, you were smart enough to marry her. Something resonated about her that you got together. And obviously she was intelligent enough to marry you. So there's intelligence there. So maybe you should open your heart and mind to that. And he's done that since our conversation. And he said to me, Andy, wow, that's just another valuable person that I can have around me. And now that I've really opened up my heart and my soul and my mind to listening to my partner, my life partner, my bride, my wife, things have really gotten a lot better for me and my company. So that's another sort of entrepreneurial trick that I'm sure most people do, whether it's the husband or the wife, but think about that because that's been very valuable to me in my life.
Very good. Let me ask you one last thing. Very beginning, you may have thought you got it by me quickly, but you said you played college football for a year. Where did you play and what position did you play?
Well, thanks for asking. I was a walk-on at Oregon State University, the Pac-10. My coach was Mr. Craig Fertig. And I really learned very quickly after my first year, after twisting up a knee and an ankle, that I really loved talking to people and selling them things versus being run over by 280-pound, offensive linemen. So I learned pretty quickly where my expertise was, and it certainly wasn't, a Jewish white kid from the suburbs from Detroit playing in the Pac-10 that was a little bit slow. I really decided that when I got to the Pac-10 and played football, that my real sort of run to daylight, if you will, was going to be an entrepreneur, someone that could help people and build a company. So that's where I played, and it was a great experience. However, I tell you, when you see the grass and you're laying on your back on the grass, looking up at the sky, a little dazed and confused by being hit so many times by seniors when you're 18 years old, it kind of changes your mental attitude. It definitely sort of firmed me up, but it made me realize that my path was going to be entrepreneurship and not professional football.
Well, the Beavers, Oregon State Beavers, right?
You got it.
Very impressive to play, for me, to be a member of a Division I major college football team for even a day, much less a year. So congratulations to you on that. And because that's an accomplishment in and of itself. Because as you say, what's great about sports is you don't just learn how to play a game, but you learn a lot of things like teamwork and commitment to mission and play and being, your best at your role and all those things. It's a great metaphor, and that's why I along with a lot of hiring managers, if I see the military or team sports, particularly Division I team sports, my eye goes to that, because that it's not just that they've done something cool, but that they understand teamwork and mission. And a lot of people, not just these days, but you can say, oh, the world's going to heck in a handbasket. The world's been going to heck in a handbasket for thousands of years. It's just going in different ways. But not everybody understands the meaning of team and mission.
I agree. And it's a great background, whether it's going to be a sports team or a debate team or a crochet team or any type of team sport or activity that young people can get involved with is going to be very important for their future. And certainly people like you, very important people, do look at those types of things on a resume. So I think it just resonates in so many ways to be part of a team, and even individual sports or individual activities are very important as well. So for the younger people watching the show, if you're not involved, get involved. It's very important to do so. It's great for life learning. It's great for entrepreneurship. And no matter where you go in your life, you always have those experiences behind you that you can lean on. Of course, in my case, I can laugh at it now, but at the time it was deadly serious as an 18-year-old kid, I'll tell you. But wow, what a great experience. And I agree 100%, Alan. What a wonderful way sort of to approach life by being involved with not only group sports, but group activities. And of course, individual sports and activities are important as well.
What position did you play?
I played defensive back, and it was a lot of fun. It really was. And I have so many, stories just from the 1 year that I played. But certainly, one story that stands out in my mind is when I first started, and this happens to young entrepreneurs a lot. I mean, they think that they are just the golden boy. They think that they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And sometimes it takes reality to sort of hit them in the head and kind of let them know that maybe they've got a little bit more to learn. Maybe they need to reach out to some mentors. Maybe they need to go work on their product or service a little bit more. But going in the first day of pads, I thought I was, ready to roll. And they had a thing back then, I don't know if they even do it anymore, where they would have two guys go against each other and they, try and knock the heck out of each other. And so here I was, this freshman, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm going to make a name for myself right away as a freshman. I'm going to go in front of the line as soon as the biggest senior, the biggest, baddest senior linebacker they used to call it the slaughter box, got into the slaughter box. So here I was against the senior linebacker. I think he was an all Pac-10 guy. And I'm this freshman that nobody knew because I was a walk-on. I had to go into the slaughter box. We butt heads. And let me tell you, not only did my head ring, but I ended up right flat on my back. And I had a very quick awakening to what the Pac-10 football was all about. But I'll tell you, it was an important lesson. And the important lesson I learned was, you sometimes need to pay your dues. You need to take one step at a time. You need to think about what you're going to do before you do it. Because when I was 18 years old, I never thought about a darn thing. I just did it and I thought about it afterward. And now as an entrepreneur being much older, obviously you want to think things through. You want to make sure that you don't get ahead of yourself. You don't want to go into a program thinking that you are all that. Listen to your team, surround yourself with great people. Don't get into the slaughter box immediately. Put out your minimal viable product. Make sure it works before you expand it out. And that's one of the learning experiences that I had very early on at 18 years old.
Well, Andy, you are as great a guest as you are an interviewer. Thank you so much for being on the show. I think we're out of time, but I appreciate your time. I appreciate you coming on, and I look forward to seeing you around campus.
I love it, Alan. I have to tell you, after getting to know you and speaking with you on more than just this occasion, the world needs more straight talking, straight speaking people like you that are going to tell you the way that it is. It's really refreshing to talk to someone like you and not only get your questions, but just get to know you, because the world needs more straightforward people, more people that tell it like it is, more people that don't have an angle, and more people that want to do what's right by their clients. So I want to thank you for that from the bottom of my heart. It's very refreshing and it's very inspirational as well.
Well, you're welcome. You're very nice. I appreciate it. And so that's all the time we have today on this episode of Ask Alan the podcast. If you enjoyed this show, and of course, Who We Kidding? It was a great show. Share it. Share us on social media. Comment if you have a topic or a question you'd like for us to answer. Send it in. Let us know about that. Email this to other folks. Get the word out about DotCom magazine and Andy Jacobs. So I will be seeing y'all later. Andy's going to go out and promote some the vision of some CEOs, and I'm going to go and get some justice. So thank you all very much.